to another edition of the Omnis Hour. Those of you with good ears will recognize that tune in the back as Let's Face the Music and Dance. One of the great standards of the big band and jazz era, before music was banalized and analyzed and destroyed by pop culture. Which we'll be kind of touching on. Let's talk a little bit about the picture behind us and the art AI gave me in response to, you'll never guess what the prompt for this one was, but I think it illustrates something that we should probably touch on in today's talk. I asked the art AI to show me the Elohim play shirts and skins. And somehow it doesn't know what Elohim are. It doesn't know what the game Shirts and Skins are. But it knows playing must have something to do with being a gang or a group of musicians. And it invented basically a whole bunch of marketing for groups that, as far as I know, don't even exist. There is some, I don't know, Asian American artist that goes by the name of Elohim. Maybe this character here looks a little bit like that person. I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman. It's kind of hard to tell from their marketing stuff, but this is what it gave me. It seems to understand there's some sort of a cult connection with this imaginary band, and that it seems to have some sort of a tough guy Asian gang look to it, with some interestingly groomed children in this particular one, some of which are wearing, well, the boy is actually wearing weird hair. So make of that what you will. I really don't want to see any more of this or give them any more free advertising, but this is the kind of shit that AI art is churning out. Basically inventing marketing, implanting marketing for brands that it likes, which is a dangerous feature of woke AI, isn't it? Okay, where are we going today? I'm going to take you to the next picture, which will get you closer to what I had in mind. This is an old art clipping of mine. Basically, I took a nicer drawing of the heaven, the highest heaven of Isaiah, and turned it into kind of art in the style of the Impressionist era. It's not quite Van Gogh, but maybe a little bit Van Gogh-ish. Okay, so let's introduce the theme of today's talk. I'm going to call this one "When Gods Played Shirts and Skins," the genesis of day 7 of creation. Yeah, so I think today we're really going to touch on a topic that is probably going to be the most challenging bit of truth that folks in traditional religions are going to have to deal with. Well, it's challenging for the New Age religions too, because for a different reason. And for those of you who are a-religious or satanic, playing for the adversary, well, you're going to be challenged by everything I put up on my channel, so fuck you. Okay, so in the traditional view of the Old Testament, the highest heaven was envisioned as this heavenly council, if you will, with God sitting on the pedestal, being worshipped by rows and rows of archangels and angels and seraphim and cherubim. And if you read the literal translations of these entities, you would conclude that these are not human beings, although this is a humanized representation of it. And that's the way that most human artwork portrays the highest heaven as a humanized version of what was something that started long before humanity, and that's where we're going with this. I need to tell you a little bit about this planet's history. We're going to go back a little bit and explain how we got here to those of you that don't get it. Most of you who have done any, taken any science courses, studied astronomy, gotten a little familiar with what science has discovered about our interesting solar system, are aware that this planet was essentially destroyed and recreated about 4.5 billion years ago. The story is actually told quite well in the Sumerian Enuma Elish tablets, which basically tell of a sky dragon, Tiamat, and her minion, Kingu, basically attacking this planet, which is, at least in the version that we've got, represented as Marduk, the hero male god who eventually became Mithras or Zeus, the father god, the male Earth, Father Earth, if you will, was how the story went. And it was Mother Invader that destroyed Father Earth. That's going to be a bit challenging for those of you who are of the Mother cult worship. But we'll explain that more later. So, at any rate, this is borne out by scientific evidence. There was another planet in roughly the orbit where the asteroid belt is today, that due to whatever influences of other planetary bodies, probably mostly Jupiter, but perhaps another planet, which is still being searched for. There's still a search going on for the so-called Planet 9, since Pluto was demoted. At any rate, there was a major event in our solar system about 4.5 billion years ago that ended up destroying the planet that was here and replacing part of it with contents of this other body that hit it, the Tiamat. And some of it was integrated into our planet, so our planet grew in size, and some of it became our very strange moon, which, if anybody knows about how eclipses seem to work both ways, knows is quite a phenomenal accident of nature to have that these three bodies, the moon, the sun, and the earth, line up in such a way that we can have full eclipses of both the sun and the moon. Think about it. It's pretty strange. Okay, so what I can tell you about this, and it actually is in these ancient writings. This is old lore that's been passed down to humanity. The Earth before was a water world. It was a water world of fresh water. not so saline as the water is today in the seas. That is also recorded in this story, that the salt and more water came from this other planet that hit us and made our seas salty and disturbed the core, if you will, such that we began having continents form, which had not been a big thing before that point. Okay, now in this era, these forces were gods, just like it says in the Enuma Elish. This planet was an entity. In fact, all the planets, all the stars are spiritual entities. They have undergone evolution in the course of this game of creation. And unlike 4.5 billion years ago, being the god of a planet or of a star is not such a big deal anymore. It's kind of a limiting role because you're stuck dealing with the laws of gravity, dealing with physics. You don't have all the powers you used to have back in that era of being able to change your trajectory when you wanted and send your planet careening off to go bash somebody else's. That doesn't happen anymore. It does happen if it's been set up far enough in advance to happen. And that's a lot of what went on in the reforming of this planet. And that's why it's taken 4.5 billion years to get to where we are now. There was a lot of rebuilding to do and a lot of forgetting to do. And this is more proof that we are in a spiritual creation, not a physical creation. It is spiritual science going on far more than physical science. The physical science is basically just developing speed limits, guidelines for spiritual powers, so that we don't have the ability to throw planets at each other at will. Not all of us anyway, because you can't just take away powers from others without being a tyrant. And that was never what God wanted to be. Although, in the earlier phases of creation, God, like any powerful entity, will become corrupted and will abuse power with the best of intentions. But as we know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so basically, at the point that the planet was destroyed, we had reached, let me switch over and get some visual aids. So we were basically at this point of creation. This is the process, which you may not be familiar with. I'm not going to go all the way back through it. I might someday do another ground zero discussion. But basically, at some point in creation, God version 11, which you'll recognize the number 11 as what the string theorists are saying is the most likely number of dimensions in their godless string theory right now, which ties in quite nicely with the story I'm going to tell today. God was planning each version of creation. in his highest heaven, which was structured when God is the one doing all the planning, has the director's chair. Okay, this maps into a heaven that looks like this heaven of the Almighty. The choirs of angels all wanting to do what God told them to because it's God's plan. Okay? Now, at this point, we had developed a soul vehicle that was humanoid. It did not have any sex. Sex had not been invented yet. The favorite vehicle of incarnated souls that were playing this game was basically as what the New Age cultists describe as a light being. These orbs that you see around, some of us see. It's an interesting story about one guy that has a very intimate relationship with one of these orbs. It often manifests as a beautiful young lady and has been pretty good to his family. They got no problem with their guardian orb, and that very well ties into this. This, in fact, was one of these creatures, one of these soul vehicles, one of these old model gods. Now, these sexless creatures could shapeshift. They could appear in a light orb form, which is like the, if you imagine, if you know anything about physics or chemistry, you will know that there is a lowest energy form, which is the preferred state of an atom or of a molecule or a crystal, where things are arranged in such a way that you don't have to invest a lot of energy in keeping this form. This is the light orb form of these creatures. And that's why most of our encounters with them are in this glowing orb form. And those orbs will have a certain apparent color, which they can change, like a chameleon would change colors. Their preferred color is their lowest energy state. So when you catch one of them manifesting most honestly, you will see their particular frequency combination of colors. What this essentially is their Merkaba. And I'm not going to go through the whole discussion about what a Merkaba is, but basically this is the energetic representation of a soul. And these souls, being the first of the fully formed Merkaba species, the full Merkaba has 12 dimensions. It's kind of like a cell. Let's maybe go take a quick review of that. Let's see. Okay, so basically you can see the 12D Merkaba you can view two ways. You can view it as basically three tetrahedrons, three time spaces of physical, spiritual, and God level experience. So that's why there's 4 dimensions, 3 of space, 1 of time, in each of these representations of your experience. You can also view it as concentric layers like a cell. And the centermost layer is the real you, your core experience. Other layers are basically layers that control the mechanics of this cell of your soul. Some are designed to keep shit out. That's the karmic layers. Some are designed to process stuff. That's the Luciferian layer, which is like the cytoplasm of the cell, where all the dirty work gets done. In a cell outside the nucleus is where you combine DNA, you make proteins and acids and chemicals, and it can be pretty messy. You don't want to let anything into the nucleus unless it passes the test of karma. Then you've got a sort of a fatty membrane around this cytoplasm that then protects you from the next layer of your experiences. Okay, so the nucleus layer is where your chosen experience is had. The spiritual incarnations, you were running at least somewhat as an AI. You were running according to a program that was defined by your spiritual form in whatever spiritual universe you were participating in. Okay? So this nucleus is your own universe. You're not aware of it until you have reached a higher level of consciousness. And the spiritual experience has the same structure. And then you've got an outermost layer that is your physical experience. What you've done in Lucifer's universe of testing. And that can be really painful stuff. It stays with you, but when you reach the highest levels of consciousness, you will know, okay, all of this stuff happened to me because I was in a physical incarnation and I didn't have full awareness. I made some stupid mistakes. I went along with programs I shouldn't follow. I learn a lot about myself from that, but I don't have to let that stuff be part of my core person. I don't let it get into my nucleus. And so this is basically what these light orbs are. Once you reach the highest level of being a God character, you have the ability to manifest as one of these light creatures. Now, some of the oldest souls had that ability before this whole thing was fully formed. And because of free will, they didn't necessarily have to give up that. But they were subject to the latest laws of the multiverse. So if they wanted to transmigrate between universes, they had to basically obey the latest laws of karma. And if they were already at a God level and had not passed the test of karma by incarnating in the latest version of the game, then they would be stuck in one particular universe or some part of a universe. And that's basically what's happened while we were testing this final version of karma. And this is why the heaven that was envisioned in Isaiah is the way it is, with the angels and archangels and seraphim and cherubim. That is how the highest heaven was structured before the destruction of this planet and the rebuilding. And even for part of the rebuilding, it had something of this structure. It wasn't until God realized that, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe because I know too much about my plan, I'm mucking things up. And this is the point at which God gave up the high seat here. And this is illustrated, let's see, here's a good place to show this. Okay, so going from this stage of creation where God is like running the plan, other characters are in the highest heaven, and it's been remodeled somewhat, but it's still got this very, very authoritarian structure to it. And these other characters up in the highest heaven are participating, but they're all very well organized in these choirs of angels and so forth, and the highest creatures, the highest entities. Once that was played out and God reached level 12 consciousness, had a fully formed Merkaba, all 3 layers, 12-dimensional Merkaba, the game was done as far as God was concerned. And God could have said, okay, we're going to keep doing things my way, and tough if you don't like it. That's not what God did. He knew that there was a lot of angst, there was a lot of unhappiness, a lot of resentment of God, because nobody likes to be under the thumb of an almighty tyrant, even if the tyrant is a good one. And well, good example in history, the first emperor, Augustus. Everybody acknowledges he was the best emperor that the empire ever had. He never lorded it over anyone, really. He would sit in the Senate and just once in a while speak up and say, I think this is what we should do. And he was so respected that that's generally what they did. And he, far less than his successors, used the tyrant power of his position. Even so, there were a number of attempts on his life, a number of attempted assassinations and revolts, and times when he had to play the tyrant or he would have been deposed. And this is, in human history, one of the most enlightened and good emperors / kings that any place has ever had. So again, it wasn't working. And so what God decided to do next was basically say, you know what? You're right, family. I think this time when we plan the next version of creation, which the simulation multiverse is basically a plan. It is a scenario, a game. All the characters are already planned out, have been gamed in the mind of God, tested there before it gets implemented in Lucifer's universe, in the physical universe. And the physical universe is just a chance for everyone to play the game, play different roles in the game, and basically compare their performance versus the default play of that role. And that is what builds their individual character, their individual karma. This is how free will works. You have the free will to change your story, not God's story. or not other God stories who are running their own experiments in their own test tubes. Okay, so God is just one of many senior creators now. So at this point in the game, the deal was that basically God is kind of on a 13 plane, no longer needed of just running as an AI effectively, running the process but not actively thinking, just turning the crank. And all of the active players in conceiving of this version of time-space were God's family. The principal characters, Karma, Lucifer, Lilith, Borg, and all of these God-level characters that had grown up in previous versions of the game to be sitting in this highest heaven. Okay, this is the point at which the highest heaven started changing. And it would change every time a new chosen species was the one that God was incarnating in. So an early one was, I called God Zero the Green Man. Godzilla. Not really. So one of the first incarnations of God that woke up, said, okay, we've done pretty good with this species, but we need a new species, was the Green Man, the Ent of Ents, the king of the Ents, if you will. And at that point, a new version of this AI got installed that made the heaven look a little bit less like this very hierarchical, authoritarian one, and a little bit more democratic. Or other kind of a government. It might be more communist. It might be more oligarchic. Because just like humanity, God and the family, the heavenly family, had to experiment with government responsibly, not destroying to build back better like so many stupid humans do. So these experiments were conducted within a test tube. In fact, a smaller and smaller bunch of test tubes that basically started with the whole multiverse, then experimenting within universes, within galaxies, within clusters, star systems, planets, species, races, people, certain messianic bloodlines, and Messiah candidates, until we get a fully awakened Messiah. Now, the fully awakened Messiah will be at a level 12 consciousness. We'll see, okay, now I get what the game we've been playing is. Did we complete what we set out to do with the whole experiment? And the whole experiment was taking this perfect God world, God's perfect world, and turning it into a perfect world for all souls. Now, how do we define perfect? This is a problem. Because not everybody has the same idea of perfect, do we? And this is essentially what has driven creation, and how we determine if it's more perfect than the previous version is we look at how big the universe is, how old it is, and how long it's going to last. How do you do that? You find a midpoint. And then you explore. How big are we now? Have we grown creation? How many other universes are there? Do we have enough heavens? Do we have enough hells? Is there a place for everyone to go for training? Is there a good training planet for them and species for them to incarnate into in Lucifer's universe? Well, if not, we're not quite done. And so basically we've gone from a topology of the highest heaven that has been basically looking like this very pyramidal organized structure with God at the top as the almighty dictator, to a more egalitarian one, if you will. But the right kind of egalitarianism, where you don't have basically hive minds cropping up. Okay, so what is a hive mind? If you can imagine, not all of these characters like God. They may sit in the highest heaven, oh God, you're so great, you're so wonderful, but actually they're not always in council here, and they be plotting with each other. Especially when you're able to communicate with each other telepathically, and you're able to shield your thoughts, which part of what the soul's Merkaba is at the highest levels is to shield, to give gods a little privacy. Because believe me, gods want privacy too. They don't want you to know everything that they're thinking. They don't want you to know their plans. They're just like people. And so there were plots and schemes going all along here. And, you know, God actually designed it that way because God made the adversary too, didn't he? You need an adversary to drive creation. You need pressure. You need back pressure to make something work. Because if you don't test a creation, you don't know if it's good or not. You don't know what the downsides are, the side effects. And if you don't have some place to throw bad shit out, then you're going to be living with the side effects forever. And that's essentially what the multiverse is all about, is sorting out the good shit from the bad shit. And the shit that's in between, maybe some people like it. You're welcome to it. Just go to that universe and enjoy your shit. This is the way it is. The highest heaven is purposely set up to please God and to keep creation going. Keep the game going. Because that's what pleases God. It wouldn't be any fun if, for God, if the whole multiverse devolved into a low entropy or a high entropy state. Nobody enjoyed playing. They'd all be complaining, what the fuck did you do to us, God? This game's boring. We don't want to play it anymore. That's the whole point of creation, is giving everybody a good place to play. Just not too close to anybody that doesn't like the way you play. Okay, so the topology since of the highest heaven has been much more egalitarian. And this is leading up to how it is going to be when we get through this installation phase of the new time space, the new highest heaven, the new laws of the multiverse. Okay? It's not going to be this hierarchical thing. There will be government. But each of the senior creators in this highest heaven, within their nice little suburban house, will be able to organize their heaven the way they want it. They might want to organize it like the Baghdad of Scheherazade. They might want to organize it like, Candy Cane fairy tale world. They might want to organize it any which way you want. There are some that still want to have the Almighty God telling them what to do. Okay, that version of God is still there, just not the one that is managing the highest heaven anymore. They're one step removed. So if you're you're a devout Christian, you're a devout Muslim, you're a devout Jew, there's one of these kind of heavens for you that has your God running it. And your God is the one that interacts with all the other senior creators and actually lives in this community if they want to interact with them, if they want to intercede with them for their people. Now, there are some of these old gods who aren't playing by the rules, who haven't submitted to the new version yet. And they're locked out now. They still have their highest heaven, and they can keep their highest heaven as long as they want. But they're not going to be able to have their worshipers incarnate in the new version of time-space. And this new version is a special one because humanity is the last chosen species of the Gaia experiment. We've completed all of the things that had to be happening in order for this experiment to succeed. Some of the top level things that had to happen, okay? God had to wake up and see, yeah, karma is actually working pretty well. It's doing a good job of identifying the souls that deserve to have another incarnation, the souls that need to be recycled to the abyss, the souls that have earned a step up in spiritual consciousness. Some of them have earned a God spot. Now, this has been happening in this test tube. And, you know, depending on what phase we were in, it's been the test tube of this whole solar system or the test tube of this planet. And there are entities that have been playing this game waiting for this experiment to succeed. To succeed at this last level. There are other species who have succeeded in previous versions that were on the whole solar system basis. There are, this is essentially one of the things that is represented by the rings of Saturn. This is one of the ways that was cooked up to keep score, essentially. The number of rings around Saturn corresponds to the number of God-level characters waiting for this experiment to be over. The dead who want to be raised incorruptible. Why are they incorruptible? Because if they're released from their imprisonment in this experiment, if they are not willing to play by the latest rules, they are going to be cut off from their spiritual power in this time space. And they will probably be hunted down and killed by whoever they've offended to get where they are. So eventually they will die off from this version of time space, or will voluntarily transmigrate to their old time space, and they will leave behind an AI version which will take their place here, because gods don't die. Okay? God-level characters don't get recycled. Once you've awakened to a certain level, you're not a beast anymore. Okay, beast level souls, souls that have only ever had physical experience. They've never reincarnated, but they've been always assimilated back into the hive mind source. Those are beasts. That's what it means to be marked as a beast. If you have not had any reincarnation experience, if you have not had, been accepted for tutoring by one of the heavens or one of the hells, the prototypical ones or the actual ones that existed before this version that will still exist, then you're not going to get to keep your experience that you've gained. And this has been made hopefully easier for everybody going through this transition by the fact that everybody is being given a free chance to get to the first level of spiritual awareness, the fifth dimension. This is what the fifth dimension is all about. It's not becoming totally enlightened like some idiot gurus are telling you. It's just the first little bit of awareness that will allow you to escape from the beast pit and start gaining experience in one of the heavens or one of the hells. And how you play the game is going to determine who invites you to play in the afterlife. And there are many of these afterlives recruiting for you right now who want your soul. That gives them power. And the ones that are playing by the rules, playing according to karma, are not tyrants, they're not liars, they're not handing out spiritual lollipoops, trying to attract you into their Pinocchio heaven. But there are a lot of those out there giving you bullshit stories about, oh, we're all one. You have God inside you. All you need to do is look inside yourself and everything is there. And and there's no evil. All is one. All is love. These aren't liars. These are cheats. These are scammers. Spiritual scammers. And they may have the best of intentions because they're being scammed by higher level scammers. If it sounds too good to be true, I guarantee, folks, it is. If anybody tells you there's no such thing as evil, they are, by definition, evil. The non-duality cults are evil. Because the adversary does exist. And even though we're finishing up day 7 of creation here, there's got to be another day. The adversary is not completely defeated. We are driving it away from the chosen planet, kicking and screaming. And that's what I've been involved in while I was having my spiritual awakening, is being part of that spiritual battle. It's been tough. I can tell you where we've gotten to thus far. Let me find a good way to do that. Okay, so let's back up a little bit and talk about how the evolution of this highest heaven has happened. Sometimes during this period of awakening, a Messiah candidate has basically awakened as one of these other, as a servant of one of these other high-level spiritual entity. Sometimes there was a Luciferian Messiah. That would have been folks like Hitler, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, Caesar. The great military leaders, at least until they stopped being great, who had huge effects on human history. Those are Luciferian messiahs. They served to move the story along. Every time one of those came was one of these times where there was going to be a tipping towards entropy, towards sin, towards the creation falling apart. And sometimes what was needed to prevent it from falling apart was basically destroying an old order of things. This is essentially what the Bronze Age collapse was. This was actually a bunch of Luciferian messiahs who were motivated by envy of these city-state kingdoms that had all the wealth and power, all the gold and prestige, and we're kind of weak and effeminate, and just begging to be taken over. This happens in cycles. You don't get to rest on your laurels. If you think that you're going to have any peace in the physical universe, you are a fucking idiot. That's not the way this universe is set up. It's not the universe of peace. You get peace in heaven if you go to one of the heavens. If you go to one of the hells, it's not going to be very peaceful. It might be the worst Matrix movie experience that you could possibly imagine. That's what the hells are like. Okay, so sometimes there was a karmic messiah. This is one of emphasis on morals and good behavior. Okay, actually, the original prophet of Islam was a karmic one, looking at all the corruption and the inequity of the Catholic world, Orthodox world, the Christian world at that time, and saying, hey, this is bullshit. We like the sayings of Jesus. We think Jesus was a great guy, but we don't think he was God Almighty. We think we should actually be able to see the scriptures and see what Jesus said, and not just have some priest in mass going some language we don't even fucking understand. Now, other messiahs of the Islamic world were not karmic. Borgian messiahs are a variety of hive mind. These are the communist messiahs, Buddha messiahs. Well, everybody's just kind of stupid, so we should just force them all to think the same way and do the same way, and that would be perfect. Just build a big hive mind, tell everybody what to think, they'll own nothing, and they'll be happy. Sound familiar? The crony globalists, the World Economic Forum folks, have been talked into an idea of a Borgian perfection. Oh, well, if we just read everything and told everybody what to think every day and gave them the science, everything would be perfect. They're trying to bring a Borgian messiah. Their communist buddies are trying to do similar thing, but they're more Luciferian in nature. They don't mind having a conflict. They don't mind conquering to get what they want. So this is why they're not really unified, as you would think. Now the Lilithian messiahs are the dangerous ones. These are the ones that are previous chosen species who want to destroy the current species. These are the most adversarial characters in the game because they don't want the new version to be installed. They like the old version because they had more power, more spiritual power, more technology power, whatever it was. It's their game and they don't want it to change. Okay, these are the ultimate bad guys that are behind all of the other bad guys. And then the God messiahs are kind of a combination of these. You have to wake up to all of these different areas, different ways that you could be a God and integrate them all. This is what the capital M Messiah has to do to finish this cycle of the game. And it's taken 4.5 billion years to do it. And many different species, many chosen species, some of which are still playing these kind of games. Okay, the Luciferians look at humanity and think, you know what, they're not really ready for being in the Galactic Federation yet. We need to just, kind of interdict this planet, put it back on the burner, and nobody mess with it, and we'll keep running things the way we want it, because we're leading the Galactic Federation just fine right now. And the karmic forces are like, come on everybody, just get along. Come on, can't we just work this out? Come on, man. And the Borgians are just like, join us, come into the hive mind. We know God's plan is never going to work. You want to be one with everything. They still think that God is a bad idea. They want to make everything run like the materialist scientists think it should. Everything is done according to clockwork. All the decisions are made for you by chemical and interactions in your brains. These are the Borgian forces, and there are very powerful species that are Borgian in nature. They are, in fact, Borgs. They are cyborgs. They are cybernetic organisms, and they are a very strong force. The Lilithians, the most powerful ones, are actually hive minds too, but they are evil hive minds. It's not that they want to assimilate everybody so that we can get along and they can be nice. They want to assimilate everybody so that they can milk their spiritual energy and use it to fight the other species to gain more power. Okay? The bugs are Lilithians. They're the worst of the Lilithians. They're the hive mind Lilithians. The reptilians are more Luciferian. They like their independence. They have their hierarchy. They have their highest leaders. And they're a bunch of bloodthirsty motherfuckers. But they're not as bad as this bunch. And all of these forces are present, fighting it out right now. And a large number of their forces don't realize where we're really at, because the Messiah has already come, has already fought the two toughest battles here. A little over a year ago, the top level Luciferian was defeated in spiritual battle. And the remaining Luciferians have been basically taken over by the good Luciferians, the ones that, hey, we have to use power, but we have to use it responsibly. We have to use technology responsibly. We have to stop engaging in death and sex magic. That's evil. We need to start disclosing stuff in a responsible way, because there still are lower level Luciferians that are not aware that their game is up. The Putins, the Xi Jinpings, some of the top leaders, bull goats, for instance. Bill Gates, I like to call him bull goats. Klaus Schwab, George Soros, these kind of Luciferian cats don't know that the game is up. Or maybe they're just starting to realize it. More recently, the top-level Lilithian was defeated in spiritual battle and driven from this planet. There's still Lilithian resources, but the hive mind queen is now on the moon. The nearest high-level Luciferian is on Mars. And there's other sorts of players on different planets nearby. They each have their own planet that they sort of have been watching the Earth from. And that's why there's all this interest in sending missions out into space, dick-headed rocket ships. All of these cats who are reaching for the stars, pretending it's for the good of humanity, are actually trying to escape back to their home worlds. And that's why the Doge, the dogs, like a certain place. The dogs all want to go to, not heaven, they want to go to Mars. The cats want to go to Venus. And the buggers want to go to the moon. It's really funny watching him scrambling around. It's like watching a bunch of cockroaches scatter when the light goes on. Because all they're doing at this point is really setting up for the next day of creation. They pretty much know at the highest levels they have lost this game. But if you know how that works, if you remember your World War II history, for instance, they don't go without a fight. They're not going to just surrender and say, "Okay, God, you win." What did we have to do to defeat Germany in World War II? We had to take Berlin. Even firebombing Dresden, killing hundreds of thousands of people, didn't convince the stupid German people to abandon the Fuhrer. What did we have to do to get Japan to surrender? They lost hundreds of thousands, millions of people in the invasion, the reconquest or the invasion of Okinawa and Iwo Jima, and the reconquest of the Philippines. And still, they were holding out and they were going to defend the homeland. They don't give up easy. And it's not going to be easy this time. And there's going to be more wars. There's going to be more turbulence before we get all these dark forces past this hump. But it will happen. And you've got the good guys on your side. The thing is that the good guys can't just go kill all the bad guys. Why? That would be sinful. That would be a karmic sin. We would become a tyranny. We would be depriving other souls of their incarnation choices. And understanding that this is a virtual reality, the game's already foregone, concluded, and I can tell you that we've been successful because I've given you perfect confirmation. You have evidence. Look at what's going on in cosmology right now. Before 2 years ago or so, everyone thought they knew exactly how the Big Bang happened. Oh, the universe is 13.7 billion years old, and this is how stars work, and this is how everything is. Oh, we solved everything. Science wins. Yay, no God. And now they're all thrown into a tizzy because the James Webb Space Telescope is giving results that totally blow their fucking theories out of the water. And they're scrambling around trying to make new theories, trying to figure out new ways to not admit that there's a higher power at work. They're not going to be successful because there is a higher power at work. And the truth of the matter is that these folks that came out with this idea, you know what? It looks to me like the universe just got twice as old. And at least some of it is older than what we were thinking was the most pristine evidence of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background. In fact, those guys were right. This new version is bigger and better and older and will last longer. That's how creation works. In fact, we've reached the point where we don't need to play this game anymore, because you know what? They look further, they're going to find more universe. They're going to keep finding more universe. They're going to keep finding newer and older stars, and they're going to be totally... my science brain is going... And it's just a matter of time. They don't have the instruments to do it right now. Same with their genetic research. In fact, they're now discovering and understanding that DNA is not a blueprint for a person. It's a lookup into a quantum table of non-player characters. That's what your DNA is all about. Your soul is not in your DNA. The DNA has a soul, but it's a non-player character soul, which has some memories of your species, your evolutionary history, but is not you. There's another real you that is your soul that gets assigned somewhere between about the 3rd to 6th month of pregnancy. And if you're a mother, you probably have felt that if you're at all sensitive. There is a certain time at which you know that this is a human being inside you, that his is an individual that has a personality, that isn't just like you or just like your husband, is a unique individual that has value. And any woman that could abort their child after that point is a fucking satanic bitch. And I don't mind saying that. And that doesn't make me far right. That doesn't make me anti-woman. I'm just telling you the truth. If you don't know when that little life growing inside you has a soul, you probably don't have one, or you haven't used it yet. You're a non-player character, and you don't matter. And this little kid inside you that you're about to butcher probably matters a lot more than you. And you're depriving it of a chance to live. It chose you. It chose your womb. If you have attracted a soul yet. Now, I have no problem with women getting abortion in the first 3 months. You're pretty safe. All you're doing is ending the incarnation of subsouls, organs, partially formed organs. Okay, that's, a little bit karmically sinful, but again, karma is not a fixed thing. If you got a very good reason for an abortion, and it's not because, I went out drinking 3 months ago and I got pregnant. Why'd you go out drinking? Why did you go get into an environment where you knew you would be raped? Or possibly raped? That is sinful. That is... You're gonna pay for that, stupid bitches. You don't get through life just doing whatever I want because I'm a woman. Watch me roar. You're fucking narcissistic, selfish bitches, and you're causing most of the problems that you have. And until you own up to that, you're going to be marked as a beast or worse. Go to one of the hells. I'm sorry. That's the way the game works. I was going to say I didn't make it up, but I think I did make it up, in fact, because I remember a lot of my past lives. Why am I able to tell you all this? I will tell you. I've been incarnating on this planet since before it had to be rebuilt. I remember many of the most traumatic of those incarnations. I've been every kind of creature you could possibly imagine during this whole process of rebuilding this planet. I've woken up as a jellyfish, as a dolphin, as a shark, as a dinosaur, some crazy cat creature in a purple skied world. I know what I'm talking about, folks, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. There is a God, and God has returned, and this game is ready for a new phase. Day 7 is over. The Gaia experiment is done. We just got to clean up the lab, and it's going to be messy. It's like billions upon billions of mad scientists throwing test tubes at each other for 4.5 billion years. That's the kind of shit that we have to clean up. We've got a lot of friends to do it. They're gradually waking up. They are having meetings right now, trying to get on the same page about what's going on right now, and trying to convince all the relevant parties that, hey, you know what, this spiritual stuff is really true. Yeah, it is. I believe it now. We've been running the Galactic Federation for 3 billion years, and we thought God was dead. We thought it was all a myth. But you know what? We look back at our oldest myths, and we're finding same kind of patterns you have in your mythology. I've always wondered where we came from, how we ended up here, and especially why there's so much interest in your planet. And we're finding out. Actually, some of our old gods are coming back and visiting us. We thought they were dead too. No, they were just kind of laying low, letting us play the game, letting us decide how we were going to play it, because they were playing by the rules. Karma's been around since the very beginning. The first version of karma was the honor system. And there are some very, very honorable old gods, old higher spiritual entities that have been waiting and watching and behaving themselves, trying not to step on the gas, trying not to influence the experiment. Some of them have not been successful in that, and they got involved and they started trying to push the scales, and that's why we have had the alien encounter experiences that we have. And that's why they're becoming more frequent, because more and more of the entities outside this experiment are saying, oh crap, there's something going on here we better get involved in. And they are essentially executing their right to either mark themselves as beasts or learn to work within the latest version of karma. It's a process. It's a process that you can't push. Believe me, I know. I tried to push early on when all of this information started coming to me. I wanted to write books and books and books, and I wanted to go shout it from the highest trees and start a new religion. And boy, I got slapped down hard many times until I learned my lesson. It's not my purpose to lead from the front on this one. It's my purpose to tell you who your leader is, who your leader always has been, and who your leader will be. Not an almighty, micromanaging, totalitarian creator of everything. Just the first citizen of the highest heaven, who's going to be wandering around, meeting family, putting in a helping hand when something needs doing that's really hard. Once in a while, stepping in to help out with a really big battle against the adversary. And there will be battles in day 8 of creation. There's going to be actually 5 more days of creation, 12. I don't know, maybe we'll invent more. Maybe we'll go to 16. It all depends on how it falls out. We're playing an endless game. And the only goal is to train souls to have fun, to enjoy it, to find their place in the game where they're most comfortable, where they're most useful, where they're the most appreciated. And that's not the same place for every soul. Now, let's go back and let's talk about this highest heaven thing a little bit more. Okay, so those who have reached the God level will have a human experience in the new highest heaven. That's not because there's anything particularly wonderful or perfect about humanity, but we just happen to be the chosen species that moved the ball over the finish line. Okay? Found this new center of creation, of the Luciferian universe, which is the testing place, that is unlimited. You have unlimited test areas for every kind of soul to sort them out. That means that there's also unlimited other universes, unlimited numbers of gods who have reached their level of perfection. They have their own creative universe. Now, some of them will still be connected here. And I tried to draw that in this by the outlines. You see, the outlines kind of show where that universe is connected or can be connected. The red outlines show Luciferian universes, authoritarian, power-structured universes that may still want to organize in a very rigid, pyramidal, hierarchical structure. That's okay, that's their choice. They don't bring that here. This is an egalitarian place that matches the most egalitarian environment that has ever been conceived of to raise children of God. And that's what happens in the highest heaven. It's about raising the best children to then go out and help out wherever they're needed in the multiverse. The ones with the purple outlines are the God version universes. So one of the best versions of God was the real Islamic Al-Mahdi. The family of Al-Mahdi was the ones that basically raised and started the Islamic Renaissance. Scheherazade, the 1001 Nights, those stories were what inspired interest in cultures, interest in science, that made Islam the most enlightened religion for some hundreds of years before the greedy bastards turned it into a patriarchal killing machine. Okay? That is one of the places in heaven. One of the versions, successful versions of God. Wasn't at a time where the world was ready yet. There were other versions based upon other chosen species that are still there. And they come out of their door and they look human, they act human. They have a human representation where they live in this nice little community. When they go back inside, they're in their heaven, dealing with their people, the way they look. They're a bunch of demons. And this is part of the challenge that we're going through here, is many of these previous chosen species are going to look and act pretty strange to you. There are werewolves. There are vampires. They're not all bad guys. Okay? A lot of the bullshit that's told about them is bullshit. But there are evil cats. There are ones whose minds have been taken over by a Lilithian entity and they're acting kind of as part of a hive mind. There are others that are part of a Luciferian cult that have a certain way that they like to deal with humanity, which includes blood sacrifices, killing children for their adrenochrome, all sorts of nasty stuff. So I don't want to minimize this, but that doesn't describe all that you're dealing with. You mostly see the evil ones because those are the ones that have no compunction about violating karma, about tyrannizing other souls. So the good guys are kind of hanging in the background, helping where they can, building contacts among the good guys of other species, and working to try to get us through this rough patch without marking too many more souls as beasts. The Borgian souls, they're just kind of laying back saying, no, let's just all sit back and make cookies. They're not really pushing one direction or another, usually, but some of them don't like the way that human cookies look. And I have to tell you that the human Buddha was not the first Buddha. The first Buddha was an incarnation of God that lived on some planet in the Lyran constellation. This is where I was this weird panther-like creature, sexless panther, the leader of my pack. And I had the wonderful experience of breaking my leg and no longer being able to hunt as well. And rather than letting my family carry me around and feed me, I chose, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a burden on you. Eat me. And I was eaten by my family out of love. That was the real Buddha. Every Buddhist on this planet has been a fake, a Me Too copycat. No God, no enlightened one, a fake, a copy, a clone, a non-player character who just wanted to have it easy. Oh, I'll just go to Nirvana and I'll sit and meditate under a Bodhi tree all day and let people bring fruit to me and I will eat the fruit and I will be happy. these are not role models for humanity. These are role models for communists, for lazy bastards who just want somebody else to give them everything. That's not the way it's going to work. That's not the way it works in the highest heaven. You get up here, you got to live this life. It's not a life that many like to live that much. This era of humanity, we didn't have a bazillion different things we could be doing. We didn't have smartphones. You know, the family had one television. I remember when I was a kid, we had this old Motorola TV, big honking console TV with an old style vacuum tube, black and white. We only had a TV because my dad won it in a raffle at work. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a TV. And this thing, by the time I was watching it, which was after we moved from California to Idaho, before I was born, by the time I was watching TV, the thing had lost its knobs. The knobs didn't go on anymore, and we had to tune the TV with pliers and hopefully get it in on the channel you wanted to watch. We would start tuning up the TV about half an hour before you wanted to watch a show, and hope that you know, the antenna didn't drift or the TV didn't drift and you couldn't watch a show. And even then, it was kind of like half wavy lines. We had three channels, and then we got 4. That was a big progress. Now, of course, in some cities they had more. If you lived in Chicago, you got WGN and so forth. But no, in Idaho, we pretty much had 3 or 4 channels for my whole childhood. That's what this highest heaven is like. There's not all this bullshit that you have now that is distracting you. We read then, at least the smarter kids did. We read books. We went to the library. We went hiking with the Boy Scouts. We did a whole bunch of things that nobody has time for anymore. Or if they have time for it, it's like these helicopter parents saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh, I'm going to be a perfect parent. You need to be in ballet now, and now you need to take swimming lessons, and now you need to... This is insane. Current human society is absolutely fucking insane. And this is how you know that this is one of these special times. Okay? The highest heaven is modeled upon the midpoint of the special time, the special time of the Messiah. And that midpoint is not just one generation, it's actually 3 generations. The Messiah's father and his father's father. These 3 generations, since about 1880 to now, are basically where all of humanity has kind of gone through this inflection point of kind of hitting a high point. I would say, you know, from many measurements of human civilization, the end of World War II was pretty much a high point. And we've been kind of heading down ever since. Now, that downward spiral is mostly driven by postmodernism. Postmodernism is basically the beginning of communism, the beginning of the idea that we don't need God. We can figure everything out. Humanity is perfect. Humanism, worshiping of our species instead of understanding that our species is not the smartest tools in the shed. It wasn't created to be that. It was created to be a test vehicle, crash test dummies, to test this final version of karma. That's why we are weak. That's why we are subject to temptations. That's why we are prone to sin. That's why we are prone to narcissism, hubris, despair. All of these dark poles are part of being a good test for karma. If you've ever had to be involved in testing a product, you know that you have to test all the cases. Anything bad somebody could do with the product, anything good somebody could do with the product. You got to test it to make sure it works and it doesn't have bad side effects. That's what we've been doing. We've done enough testing. Because, why? Because we have had this special time. It was part of a series of plans of major and minor versions of God. Sometimes what was needed was a conquering Messiah. Sometimes what was needed was a Messiah of peace. Sometimes what was needed is a Messiah of decoration, art, window dressing. That's what NPCs are all about. Okay, you know, that tree looks better than that tree. I guess we'll keep it. That's a Borgian kind of a goal. It doesn't really serve any important creative purpose, but it's something that folks like, and okay, we'll keep that. We've sometimes needed Lilithian messiahs, and that's what this dark character, Sabbatai Zevi, the 1666 Messiah, who most would have called a dark Messiah, that's who that cat was. It was an important part of setting the stage for now. We have had literally millions upon millions of partially awakened messiahs who failed for a number of reasons, and failed on purpose because that's the way it had to happen. Some failed because of ambition. They wanted power. Alexander the Great, absolutely an important part of history. If that had not happened, that incredible short life that conquered most of the known world had not happened, we'll be writing alternate history novels for billions of years, looking at that very question and actually doing it, playing it out, because that could be fun, right? That's part of what you can do now. It's all been necessary. If you think God could have waved a magic wand and made it work any other way, you don't understand God. You just don't get it. And if you don't understand God, you're never going to become like God. If you're one of these narcissistic numby-gumbies that think, well, no, I already have God inside me. I am God. I just have to find it. This is a Lilithian psyop. This is not true. You're not God. You never will be God. You may be a God. You may even reach the highest heaven through having a Messiah incarnation. And you may add something important to a future version of the multiverse. But we've already got a version that has infinite time, infinite space. The new versions are not going to be major versions. They're going to be minor versions. They're going to be revolutions in art, revolutions in technology, revolutions in government. Evolutions, really, not revolutions. Evolutions. Because God does not destroy to build back better. If you think that is the way to make progress, you are a fucking stupid idiot. You are being coerced by either Luciferian or Lilithian forces because they don't care what they have to do to get ahead. They want it, they would be more than happy to destroy to build back better. Get aligned with the karmic forces. Get aligned with the God side. Or stick in the Borg realm and just, sit in the dark and grow mushrooms and don't get involved in politics. I mean, really don't get involved. If you don't have enough time to vote and to vote intelligently, to actually look at the candidates, not just at the fucking ads that they're putting in front of your face in the 2 weeks leading up to the election, or your idea of voting is getting your mail-in vote and just D. Don't be a fucking NPC. Just don't vote. If that's the only effort you're going to put into politics, don't get involved. Be a Borg. Just do your job. Just play the game you want to play. Be a non-player character. Who knows? Maybe if you invent some new fucking TikTok dance that everybody goes viral with, you'll be famous for 5 seconds. Knock yourself out. Just don't try to play beyond your level. Don't be part of a hive mind. Don't donate your energy to some bunch of evil assholes who are trying to destroy our fucking planet. Just don't. If you're not smart enough to get involved, if you're out there with the Free Palestine bunch of idiots on campus who don't even know one damn thing about the history of Israel, you're fucking stupid. You're a non-player character. You are a Borgian fool who's been pulled into a Lilithian or Luciferian hive mind. You're stupid as dirt, and I don't mind saying that to you. Anybody who's listening, if you've got kids involved in that bullshit, sit them down and make them watch this. And then see if they have any comeback to what I'm telling them. See if they can tell you anything about the history of Israel. One thing that isn't some Hamas bullshit propaganda, which is communist propaganda. It is not Islamic propaganda. The forces that are in play right now don't give a flying fuck about any religion. They want to destroy all religions. And if you get these bastards talking more freely, you will get them to admit, well, we want to kill all religions. We think freedom of religion should be freedom from religion because that's the smart thing. Okay, this is why I don't like atheists. I will badmouth atheists. I will call you out. I will lay you on the ground with your narcissistic nonsense cult because it is a cult. If you aren't at least humble enough to admit there's a possibility of a higher spiritual power, you are a narcissistic, elitist jackass. And every single atheist I've ever met is like that. And I was like that when I was an atheist, so I know what it looks like. It's stupid, it's childish, it's selfish, and it is not serving anything. It is serving Satan. It is serving the adversary. The Luciferian adversaries and the Lilithian adversaries who have been basically trying to play this Messiah game against everybody. This is what's been going on with the male versus female thing. We'll pull them into our elite club and let them be celebrities. If we keep this up for, I don't know how metrosexual queens and their celebrity entourages who will be the only ones that get to reproduce. That's where they're heading. That's why they want to depopulate this species. They want to be the only ones that can reproduce, that will have all the future humans. And they just want to use everybody else for whatever they can get out of them until they throw them out. You are a resource to them, not a human being. That's how the elite, the absolute top globalist elite, view people outside of their elite set, as resources for them to use, as inconvenient Mr. Hines. Man, can't we just get rid of all these assholes at the top? The ones we know are fucking beasts, fucking satanic beasts, or so stupid that they might as well be. Let's just get rid of them. I'm not advocating we kill them. I'm advocating we isolate them. Stick them on an island. Hell, give them a bunch of money and a whole bunch of whores and let them go all Epstein. Whatever. We need to isolate these assholes from humanity. Let's see, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. You know, we showed this one of, okay, this is what it looks like from a topology of what's going on underneath all of these places in heaven. There's different versions of their heaven, of the senior creators, or, you know, the God level characters. Actually, every soul has a representation in the highest heaven. Every soul started there. Everything started in the mind of God. Some of you are blades of grass in this highest heaven. That's as far as you've gotten in your evolution of having your own universe. When you get to be a God level character, then you get to have a works. The government of heaven basically revolves around the 5 primary characters of all creation and conforms to, this is where the cross really comes from, Catholics. It's not about some Jesus who got crucified. That's a story. It's not a true story. It's a made-up story. Yeah, many people were crucified, and some of them thought they were the Messiah. And the Jesus character was an amalgam. It was a virtual God. There was no historical Jesus that was exactly like what's in the Gospels. How do I know that? Because that pattern was Egyptian world, and the Roman elite wanted to have an empire, a god king again, because that was kind of in everybody's mind of, that was when things were really good. Wait, back in the good old days, we had King of Kings who was also the God on earth, and as long as that line was strong and we had a strong central government around it, everything was perfect. those memories die hard because that's how the old highest heaven was, wasn't it? The new place is similar, and it has a structure that evokes the cross. Okay. And wallet. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah. Okay, can you see? You don't see me moving though. Okay, so we'll show it here. Okay, so how do we cross ourselves? We start at the head. Well, the head is Sin City. The brain, the three brains, two hemispheres, and the heart brain, that's where all your trouble comes from. That's not your soul. That's your processing of your current reality and incarnation. It's a dangerous place. That's Sin City. Then you go this way. Oh, there is Lucifer University. Okay, this is where we get our experience. Heaven that keeps the whole thing running. Watch and wallet. Okay, the watch is the board, the clockwork that keeps everything running, the little characters that deliver the mail, that pick up the trash, walk the dogs, teach your kids. Okay, these aren't the classiest gods in heaven, but they serve a purpose. They are part of this community. They're the artists, the musicians, all of the things that go into making a healthy community. The heaven, money there. Well, there's money, but it's spiritual currency. Okay, do unto others. You get more points by spending than you do from saving. Not spending to buy a bunch of shit you don't need that is only going to complicate your life more. That's not what this world is all about. That's not what this era was about. Not, well, you know, for some people it was. And there will be some in the highest heaven. Some of the kids that grow up here will be very materialistic. And that's why we need Sin City. Some of them are going to turn to a life of sin. They're going to want to pursue an interest in science, in the arts, higher learning, history, whatever. They will go to Lucifer University as they grow up. Find their specialty, get some specialized training, and then go on a mission. This is one of the pieces of this eternal city that actually grew out of the Mormon religion. Joseph Smith was one of the failed prophets on the way to all this. He fell flat through making it all about a materialist religion. The Mormon Church, if you're aware of it, I grew up near it. I wasn't in it, but growing up in Idaho, you're pretty in religion. Although they're very much into proselytization, they have a very strict set of rules. If you don't conform, if you don't do what you're supposed to do as a good Mormon, they will ostracize you. They require everybody to tithe 10%. At one time, they supported polygamy until their leader had a revelation and suddenly changed the rules. That's not something that a real Messiah would do. a real godly character would not just change the rules of their denomination to pander to political entity. This is why the current pope is an anti-pope. Totalitarian, but because of things like bastardizing the church to be allowed to operate within China. Now, many people in the Catholic Church don't know this, but this is the chief sin of the current pope, that he's gone along with bastardizing his religion, allowing a special translation of the Bible to be done for Chinese Catholics that is approved by communist censors. The churches in China have to have, alongside of the Bible, Xi Jinping thought and Mao's little red book, revered right along with the Bible. If you go with that, if you support Pope, Pope Francis is an anti-pope. He's pandering to the Chinese. He's pandering to the globalists, the World Economic Forum globalists. Did you hear the Pope say anything about the pandemic and the fake vaccines, which are actually GMOs and never got tested as such, even though everybody knew that they were GMOs? Sorry, this guy's a loser. This guy's a pleaser, a squeezer, a teaser. For whatever reason, I don't know if he's more of a Borgian type who thinks that, well, I'm just playing by the rules because that's the way the world is around me, or if he's into power, Luciferian soul, or if he's actually a servant of the adversary. It really doesn't matter. He's not God's servant. He's out to lunch. He is not representing the Catholic Church as he is supposed to. Now, that doesn't mean a pope can't challenge and reform the Catholic Church, and there's much reform that's needed there. There are things that are known in the Vatican Library that are kept hidden as secrets, maybe only known by the Jesuits, that need to come out right now, that are corrupting the Catholic Church. The Pope, the College of Cardinals, all the bishops who have any knowledge and aren't sharing it because they don't want to rock the boat. I'm sorry, you're apostates. You're not on God's team anymore. Other religions, I've already exposed the Dalai Lama for the fraud he is. The Dalai Lama is not some poor guy that was kicked out of his country and he's fighting so hard for the Tibetan people. He was taught by an SS officer who was almost certainly part of the Ahnenerbe, the occult Nazis, who are absolutely behind the new anti-Semitism going on with Iran. All of these cats who are involved in attacking Israel, and even some of Israel's own leaders are part of it, because they, the hardcore Zionists, are trying to fulfill prophecy that they believe will give them power. They are these previous chosen people who care more about their faction than they care about succeeding in God's plan. And there may be some of you listening in on this. And if you're playing that game, if you're deliberately stoking the fire because you want to have Armageddon, you want the world to be blown up, and you're on the side of the adversary. This is serious shit here. It's all going down right now. And if you don't think it's real, if you don't think we're in the middle of the apocalypse, you're a fucking fool. You're gonna be beast-marked. You're gonna be used and abused by somebody who knows more than you, and led by the nose to the abyss. Nobody's gonna get out of this alive, I promise you. That's not the way our species work. These assholes like bull goats and so forth that think that, oh, we're just this close to putting our consciousness into an android and living forever. You're fucking idiots. You don't understand the first thing about consciousness. It doesn't reside in your brain. It doesn't reside in a to be stupid. You're being encouraged to be stupid by folks who know how stupid you are. You're being used as useful idiots. Yes, Bill Gates, you are a fucking useful idiot. Elon Musk, useful idiot. Jeff Bezos, useful idiot. Mark Zuckerberg, useful idiot. You don't know what the score is. You think you do, but obviously you don't, because you're fucking scared as hell. You're building your escape pods, your escape islands, because you're fucking scared shitless. You know you don't. Jump ship like the fucking rats you are. You better tell what you do know and how you have sinned. It's time to pull the kimonos off and tell all. And let's find out who's really behind all this and get rid of the rest of the bastards before they do any more damage. The Messiah has done his job. He's gotten the two major adversaries off planet. Now it's up to you guys to do the rest. That's how you're going to prove that you can think for yourself, that you can oppose tyranny and not be part of it. That's the name of the game right now. Every soul, human or otherwise, around this beautiful little planet is going to be challenged. Now, some of us have faced our challenge and we've gotten past it, and we're just waiting for new assignments. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I've done my duty. I've earned my spot in heaven. And I'm doing the best I can to try to help all of you move closer to heaven, understand what's going on here. Maybe I'm not doing some subscribers, and every time I seem to have a hit, it gets hit more with shadow banning. So either I'm not getting through to anybody or they don't want me to get through to anybody. But I'm going to keep doing what I can, keep sharing what I know. And I know we're going to get through this. Not alive, because we're human, but hopefully moving on to better things. moving on to the heavens and not the hells, and not returning to source. Because I don't wish that on anybody. Why would you want to lose all your experience in a game? Think how old you are, how many years you've been playing this game. You want to suicide. It's probably the easiest way out. If you're totally lost, don't take it out on everybody else. Just write a nice little note. Say, goodbye cruel world. I want to go back to source. And I guarantee you'll get your wish. And when you wake up again, you'll be somebody else, another character. If there's anything you've done in your life, anything you value in your life, any memories that you don't want to lose, good or bad, keep playing the game. Learn. Play it consciously. Think about what you're doing. Karma is real. You can't just do anything you want. You can't just make anything I want because I have. But you're not in your own universe. You don't have your own universe to control all the knobs. You're competing with others' ideas of perfection. And if you step on other people's dreams by making your own manifest, you're evil. I don't care if you're fucking Greg Braden or Joe Dispenza or any of these clowns who have such a popular following. They're not telling you the truth. Because if they told you the truth, they wouldn't have 1 million followers. They wouldn't be on the Gaia channel. Would be like me, shadow banned and shunned and told they were fucking crazy, or visited by agents in the middle of the night and disappeared. If somebody is a big name on any major channel, they're compromised. History Channel, Gaia, any of the major networks, they're compromised, and they need to come clean on how they've compromised, what truths they've been hiding, what they know that they haven't shared, what lies they've been telling. And yes, the law of attraction is a lie. You are not. Christ consciousness is a lie. God isn't inside you. That's not what it means when it's in the Bible says you were created in God's image. You have a Merkaba. That is the image that you start with in the game. You build that image into your own character through your choices, through the roles you choose in each incarnation, through the heavens you attend between incarnations. That's how you grow your own individual consciousness. You are not part. That's how you become a Me Too character, a pleaser. If you think that you're noble and wonderful, being one of these people that is, I just let Jesus lead. That's a hive mind. You're being manipulated by some force that is pretending to be Jesus and telling you what to do. Now that might be good for you at this stage of the game. I don't know. But if it is causing you to do things like attack Muslims, attack Jews, attack your own country, I'd be pretty worried about who that Jesus cat is telling you to do. Jesus is a God idea. There are many Jesus heavens, many Jesus hells, many ways to be a Christian. That's what's made it such a popular religion and such a divisive religion, because it is not based on truth. It's based on half-truth. Just as much as Islam, just as much as Judaism, just as much as Hinduism, just as much as Buddhism. And there's more truth in it than most of the New Age nonsense. So don't you guys think you get a break? And let me tell you, the postmodernist religions, the anti-God religions of communism and capitalism, long to get on a better track. It's hard. If you're a non-player character, you're stuck in your rut, you're just doing what you were programmed to do, it's hard to break out of that. Yeah, it's supposed to be hard. That's how we know if you're worth investing in, if you're worth investing anyone else's spiritual energy in. The hive minds, oh, they'll take you in a minute because they'll milk you for everything you're worth. Once they get you to their heaven, quote, it's going to be like the Matrix. They're going to put you in a virtual reality that stimulates strong spiritual energies. Its easiest way to do that is through fear, through hate, dark emotions. And this is, in fact, part of the way things work, is because the dark universes, the hells, if you will, they're where the energy is generated that powers everything else. So it's easier, it takes less energy to be good, because we get our energy from transmutating evil. This is where we're going to solve the energy problem. Why it's been hard to solve, we're not doing it spiritually. If you take energy from the wrong place in the quantum space, in the quantum multiverse, evil, that's sinful. Now, you don't want to destroy someone's hell either. That would be kind of using and abusing them. But there are some of the dark gods who run their hells as rehabilitation centers. And they don't need all the energy, all the dark energy they have. In fact, they have too much dark energy. And it's getting in the way of their mission of trying to help souls with deep addictions see the error of their ways and try to move gradually in a better direction through incarnations that challenge them to develop other parts of their character, to develop the strength of character. Program for souls that have a similar addiction to what they had. And those universes generate quite a bit of extra energy that is used to power the heavens. And yes, there are bad hells where they it's my energy, and we don't take energy from there. We can't transmute energy from there. It's disconnected from God. They're doing their own thing. We're not going to mess with them as long as they don't mess with us. They mess with us when they send souls to incarnate in the physical universe. And that's what we have to fight. That's why we have to keep fighting. Creation we're going into. But it's got to be what I call spiritual Star Trek. We're going to know who the adversary is most of the time. And we're going to have a lot easier time minimizing unnecessary collateral damage. We're going to be contributing in a very, very fundamental and huge way to the Galactic Federation that is out there and is trying to do good, but has a lot of double agents all over the place that are gumming up the works. They need us more than we need them. And humanity people that know it. They're not the good guys. If they were helping the Nazis, giving them technology, karmically sinful, supporting that agenda. And they're not going to do it again. I don't care whose side they think they're going to help with technology. What kind of agenda they think they've got going. It's not going to work. You know why it's not going to work? They're from a lot of them. Those who still have that form of the oldest Watcher style God, there's a whole bunch of them now who grew up in this new time space. This is their time to shine. They don't have a lot of experience yet, but they're learning, they're watching. That's why we're seeing so many orbs. And some of them are attaching themselves to people, like I said about that one guy's family who's got this orb that has kind of taken a shine to them and shows up and manifests as this beautiful lady to the guy and takes care of the family. I don't see any harm or foul there. I'm starting to get an idea of how karma works. And that's why she's still able to manifest and help out a little bit to the people she cares about. That's fine. You step over the line too far, you start committing sin, major sins, that maybe would be protecting one of this family members if they had committed a crime, covering it up. Well, that would be a sin, and that would quickly, that Watcher would die. I mean, that's how fragile their existence is. They have a lot of power, but there's a lot of responsibility. And so they think of doing something very simple, like, oh, let's see what happens if I burn this forest, or if I fry a couple of people, or if I do a little surgery on some cattle or something like that, or I manifest as a werewolf and scare a bunch of people at Skinwalker Ranch. Well, they're marking themselves unless they have a bigger role to play, because they are playing a role. if they have something important to do in the finale of this reality show we're in, they'll be around for as long as needed till they're not needed anymore. That's the way it works. It's a plan that's being acted out. Not even God knows the plan this time, because he wasn't there in the high present for God. Any rate, it looks like I'm skipping and stuttering now, so I better cut this one short. Like, share, subscribe, tune in again to the Ominous Hour. Till next time, happy karma.